Yeah, right, it's something we've needed for a while. We have had an unofficial track here before, and there were a few little issues with it, but the profile of this track's outstanding. It's been very well put in, and I've been lucky enough to have I've got one on my own place out at Agnes Banks, and one at Flemington which we work on, and this is by far a better track than both those. And I think what it can do for our horses and the longevity we get out of them, I think it'll have a big bearing on what we do with them.
It's a very durable surface, first of all, and it's been refined over decades now. It's obviously been put in a lot of places in Australia and overseas. I've seen almost all of those tracks, and I'd say right from the outset I think this is the best I've ever seen. It just looks to be a terrific track. Time will tell.
Look, it's taken the whole establishment to another level. It means a lot of things. On face value, it means a surface that is second to none. An all-weather surface, a surface that's unique. There's no other surface like this anywhere really in Australia. The way this has been built, the complexity of it, and it's really been done very, very well. So it means that no matter what the weather, it's all systems go. The cushion is better for the horse's legs. It takes a lot of pressure off our other surfaces. As everyone knows, you know, pressure on the grass surfaces happens when your other surface is not up to scratch. I mean, this track now, it'll be good enough to have barrier trials on.
Yeah, I think now we've got this all-weather track in, and it can cope with the amount of horses that are here. There's quite a few horses in work here, and to have a track that's going to cope adequately with this sort of workload and give our grass tracks a breather, I think it'll complement it really well and give us the best of both worlds, having a great artificial track and good surfaces on our grass again.
But it has a lot of qualities. I mean, it ensures that you can train horses in wet weather. That's a very obvious one. It's very kind on 2-year-olds with their shin soreness problems, and you know, it's even, doesn't need much maintenance. Got a lot of things going for it, and this is particularly well drained, this one. So,
well, the surfaces at Warwick Farm over the last couple of years have been maintained to a much higher standard. There's been a lot more put in, but what it means is that it's going to be able to enable some of the other surfaces to have a breather when they need it, to be renovated when they need it, and it gives options. So it takes a lot of pressure off the other surfaces to enable them to regenerate when needed and during certain times of the year.
Yeah, there's been a lot done here lately. The boys have done a fantastic job. Just to come to mind now, we've got a new trainer's tower there, which has been a godsend. The one we had before, used to be about 5 of us get in. You couldn't swing a cat in there, so it used to be blues galore. But now it's air conditioned. It's huge. It gives us a good view right around the track. Just that in itself is a good tool for us. It's helped us immensely. The type stalls, the condition and well-being of the tracks now, I think they're better maintained, and that better maintained tracks mean better, fitter horses, sounder horses, and hopefully better result for all.
Yeah, right. I think about 2.5, 3 years ago, you know, perhaps 3 years ago when I first came in, and you know already I've got a bit of passion for Warwick Farm. I was raised in this area. But Darren and I came along and made some promises here to the racing community. I'll never forget the night. I think there's 52 trainers here, Warwick Farm, and 51 of them turned up. So they were pretty interested in what we had to say, and the important thing is now, 3 years later or so, we've delivered virtually all of those promises and more than that we made. And really importantly, most of the money that we've used is money that hasn't come from the industry, Racing New South Wales, etc., etc. It's come from selling redundant assets and not useful assets here. And I say that in the best sense, because you know that this road that separates the track from the racing community over there is about to be widened to 4 lanes, and there won't be access in the normal conventional ways anymore. So yeah, it's been a really, really worthwhile exercise, and I think this community, 700 horses are trained here each day, as you know, probably the biggest training setup in Australia, and this community can be justifiably proud of what they've achieved from their own backyard, and we are equally proud that we've been able to deliver it.
Yeah, there's been a lot happen, and probably more than can be seen on face value. We've got some new work done on our river track. Our river track is about 3 kilometres along the river, new railing, new plastic rail on the inner track. We've got new tie-ups and race day stalls. Of course, we've got the new synthetic, which is obvious. And as I said before, if I can quote 2 jockeys, Lenny Beasley was quoted in saying it's the best surface he's ever ridden on. Kieran McAvoy was one of the first jockeys to canter on it and said absolutely no jar whatsoever. We've got a state-of-the-art trainer's tower. You know, it's been said before that the old tower was smaller than a 1950s caravan, and you know, it was cold in the winter, and a lot of the trainers were out in the elements. So people have their own workstation for their computers and iPads, and viewing deck all around. A new ambulance for the horses, some new vehicles, both vehicles for checking the tracks of a morning and for towing the ambulance. I mean, the list goes on. I could keep going, but not to bore you totally, there's been a lot of things, a lot of improvements and a lot of additions and a lot of capital spent here at Warwick Farm.
Well, I think, you know, there's a school of thought that says that this should just be training. There's another school of thought that says it's just got to be racing. Very big community lives out here, new young people, 1 million of them, between here and Campbelltown. I think our target is for both, to do both things. So if you're adding these sorts of facilities to this track, and we only race here basically, if we're being truthful, you know, midweek or an occasional Saturday, so the tracks don't get absolutely worn out like the major tracks do. So in the training, you know, the work 700 horses here is a pretty big feat each morning. In fact, they were just telling us about 350 worked on it yesterday, this new track. You know, that's a big workload on something brand new. So I think it just enshrines that this track and this facility here is for the people of this community, and I think it almost guarantees its longevity.